Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to Death by Podcast, the world's greatest horror. What do we do? Horror movie podcast. We do all kinds of stuff though. Episode 88. I'm your host Adam. That's your other host,
Kevin.
You got a LaCroix? Is that LaCroix?
Yeah, it is LaCroix.
What is it? Lime?
Lime.
Yeah. I got some kind of mixed berry thing going on in my fridge, but I'm drinking coffee, disgusting coffee right now. Hey, we got a big show. Folks, thanks for tuning in.
Lots of stuff.
Our main topic show, 1987's, what's it called? Witches of Eastwick.
Yeah.
I can't believe I've never seen this movie. It's bizarre. But yeah, so that's the main show. But we also, what did we watch? We got some What'd You Watches. Dick Tracy.
A lot, yeah. Well, we took last week off, so
yeah,
we watched a lot of stuff. Yeah,
watched a bunch of stuff. We've been wanting to talk about Dick Tracy. I hadn't seen it in a while, so we're gonna talk about that. The Handshake from Hell. Fucking talk to the hand. Talk to me.
That's the new one everybody seems to be talking about.
Everybody's raving about. We're gonna talk about that. What else we got? We just recorded our Patreon podcast, Kevin. It's you picked Grinch Halloween.
Yeah. Halloween is
Grinch
Night. I think is the official title.
Yeah. So we watched that and we talked about that on the Patreon. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/deathbypodcast. And we have BoobTube TV as our bonus mini podcast over there, where we watch cool TV horror shows. And that episode was a little horrific. There was some stuff in there that was like, what the hell is happening? So check that out. Before we get into it, what the fuck is going on in the Matthew McConaughey Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Have you ever seen that?
I mean, 20 years ago at this point, right? It came out in like 2000, right?
I've never seen it. It was on the TV just now when I was flipping through, and I was like, what is happening in this movie? Is he Leatherface?
No.
But he's the
Not
star.
That I remember. No.
He's the star of the movie, though, right?
Like, he's the main. I think is that the same as the Jessica Alba one is another remake, right?
Jessica Alba. Is she in one?
Yeah, they remade it.
No, you're thinking
you're thinking of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation. Yeah.
The one you're thinking about is the one with Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel, that's what I meant. No. Yeah, you're watching Texas Chainsaw, the next generation, or the next. Yeah, I think it's called The Next Generation.
It's McConaughey and Renee Zellweger.
Yeah, it's Texas Chainsaw 4.
Okay,
because it was 3 is just called Leatherface, and 4 is called.
Wait, are you saying that's a whole separate, not trilogy, but like series of movies, or is that a continuation of the original?
Who you
McConaughey?
Yeah, the McConaughey one is
is it?
I don't think it's a separate timeline or anything. It's just
really.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, it's more than 20 years old. It's from 94, so it's almost 30 years old.
Dude, that's bananas. Really, it's 94. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, it was on and it looked totally bad, like wretched bad.
I mean, it's notoriously bad. People really hate it. I want to say like,
but that's where
even the people that have made it have come out and been like, yeah, we apologize. This movie's fucking awful.
Really? But that's where they got their start. Those two people saw that movie and they were like, Hollywood saw that movie and was like, hey, let's make these two folks rich and win Oscars. It's crazy.
Everybody's got their, Jennifer Aniston was in Leprechaun, and
yeah, I guess
this is right. I think this is the year after Dazed and Confused.
So okay, I was gonna say, all right.
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
McConaughey probably wasn't,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen. I've seen parts of it. I feel like, but I could be wrong.
I don't think there's any reason to watch it. Anyway, I just thought I'd ask because you seem to. I thought I heard you mention that it was one of your favorite movies, but I guess I was wrong.
No.
You have any? There was some news this week. You got some news?
Yeah, big news as far as we're concerned.
Shit. What?
Entertainment Weekly
Get out of here.
Piece the upcoming Toxic Avenger.
Oh,
and had about 5 or 6 photos and plot synopsises, and basically a lot of information about it.
What'd
A
you
lot of
get?
questions that we had like have been answered in this article.
Like what?
Um, well, like who's playing who, and you know, Elijah Wood's in it,
Really?
and that's the big image that's like circling. Yeah. And at first I saw the image and I'm like, oh, is he playing the Toxic Avenger? Because he looks gross, you know. Um, but he's not. He's playing the villain. Um,
Really?
yeah. And Peter Dinklage isn't playing, so it's kind of like a it's not a remake. It's it's completely new characters.
Really?
But yeah, Elijah Wood plays a character named Fritz Garbinger,
Fritz
and
Garbinger. That's awesome.
yeah, uh, Peter Dinklage, he plays a guy named Winston Goose, who falls in a toxic waste and becomes the Toxic Avenger. And then it says this timely reimagining is up to its eyeballs in environmental themes as Winston goes up against the evil forces of greed and corruption to save his son, friends, and community. That's the synopsis, and then they
Okay.
just the photos are pretty. I don't know. It looks interesting, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna watch this movie. But is Dinklage gonna
He's the
be?
so there's a photo of Dinklage, but like he's not like all gooed out. Like
Yeah.
he's wearing like a Zorro mask, and he's wearing like a suit, but he's wearing a tutu.
Well,
So
that's the
I,
tutu is the trademark.
so maybe that's right before he changes. I don't know. Uh,
Interesting.
Another picture is there's like a bunch of like clown street thugs. It looks like.
Yeah, like Joker style.
Um, yeah, it looks a lot like the Batman and Robin uh movie. There's a shot of Kevin Bacon looking
Kevin
at like
Bacon's in it.
yeah. I think it's Kevin Bacon. Um,
That's cool. Is he gonna be a villain? Bacon is
uh,
big. Is a
he looks like a villain in this
bad
photo.
bad bacon.
He's looking at like like a what do you call it? Like a test tube full of green goo,
Yeah,
and he's like, yeah, he looks like a bad guy. He's wearing a big
cool.
orange robe.
Dang,
And then there's Elijah Wood, who looks like Elijah Wood in fucking creepy makeup.
that's cool. We don't know if Dinklage is gonna be playing the character of Toxic Avenger or if
No, it says he's the Toxic Avenger.
he is.
He's not playing Melvin.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, they just gave him a new
It's a
name.
brand new thing.
Okay,
It's somebody, yeah.
that's interesting. So it's gonna be a short Toxic Avenger. That's what they're doing.
I don't know. They haven't shown what he looks like as the Toxic Avenger yet. So I don't know. Maybe he gets
Well,
big.
that teaser image they put out, you could tell he was short. So unless he grows, I think he should grow. I think they should do some kind of effect on Dinklage that makes him taller, or do like a Lord of the Rings thing, force perspective or something. I don't know.
Well, that would require people acknowledging that Peter Dinklage is short, which doesn't happen in any of his movies for some reason.
Woo! You hate that. You hate that no one says you're short.
No, I mean just like nobody. I'm not saying anybody has to say anything to him or any, but like,
Yeah.
you know what it reminds me of? I think it was Conan. Yeah, it was on Conan. I think it might not even, but it was Triumph,
Yeah, the insult dog.
the
Yeah.
insult dog. He had a bit one time where he was talking to a bunch of college students, okay, about like language and how they, oh, you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't say that, you like, like to describe people. And he's like interviewing people. These like 10, for lack of a better word, like woke students. And then all of a sudden this big, fat, black, gay guy comes in and he's like, oh, and he's like eating cake, and he's like, he starts talking to him. He's like, okay, I gotta go, and he leaves. And then Triumph, and then like, oh, that was weird. And like 2 minutes later, two cops burst in, and they're like, someone just robbed a bank, and he ran in this building. Have you guys seen anybody lately? And they're like, can you describe him for me? And these college kids are like tripping over themselves to describe this guy because they can't say fat black gay guy. It's pretty great.
That is amazing. Is that on YouTube? I gotta see that. That's hilarious.
I think it is.
All
Yeah.
right.
I'll have to find it, but it's
That's
pretty funny. But
hilarious.
that's, and I'm not saying anybody has to point a finger in his face, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it.
like, you know,
Yeah,
just
totally. I'm still looking forward to it. That's this year, right? Is that this Halloween?
no, I think it's,
I
what
think
is
it's
it?
it is this. I thought it was this year.
I just
Maybe
had
it's
the release date
November.
up.
Maybe it's November.
It's
Might be November, from what I remember.
yeah, I think it is November. But then
Remember
how is there no trailer?
5th of November. Well, I don't know. It's a horror movie that, or it's not even horror. Who knows what it is? I have a tidbit of news. Do you want to hear it? It's a little one.
Oh, it comes. Oh, Jesus. Wait.
What do you
According
got?
to that can't be right.
According to
According to IMDb,
computer,
it says it gets released September 21st, 2023,
tomorrow.
which is tomorrow.
What?
That can't be right.
That's not right. That can't be right. We'll figure it out.
We'll find oh my god, if it's tomorrow, I mean,
It's not tomorrow. Not without a trailer. It's not tomorrow. There's no way. That's insane.
that's gotta be wrong.
Yeah. All right. I got a tidbit of news. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
You ever see the Hell House movies? Hell House LLC? They're like
Yeah. Actually, they're on Screenbox, which I just
oh,
got.
okay. Yeah, we were just talking about Screenbox. So they announced there's a fourth movie that they're making. Are you a fan? I love those. I think those movies are great. The third one got a little weird with
Are
like,
those the found footage ones?
yeah,
I
they're
think I only
yeah,
saw the first one and really liked it a lot.
they're the first two are they're all really good. The first two are
I've
great.
heard they're great. I've only seen the first one though.
First two are great. The third one is also good, but it kind of leaned a little too much into not found footage and got a little weird, but it's still good. I'm just glad that they're doing it more. And I was talking to somebody over the weekend that like isn't the biggest horror person, and they had heard of these movies and watched them and liked them, and I was like, I'm glad that they're not,
Yeah.
they're out there and people know about them, because
My brother-in-law asked me about these.
yeah, those are decent movies.
Yeah. Well, there's also, and that's the other thing, is there's also every time I remember when I went to look them up, there's a documentary called Hell House.
Yeah, okay.
That is, it's a really good documentary, but it's about like I think it's about these these super Christians that have a haunted house that
Yikes.
they don't tell people what it is, and then when you get in, it's a bunch of like
Jesus
it's pretty
Christ.
hardcore. It's basically an anti-abortion house, and it's
Oh my
pretty
God, that's
yeah,
fucked
and
up.
yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't have a release
Also a
date.
horror, a horror movie of sorts.
Yeah,
Think about
totally.
it.
I didn't have a release date, but whatever. The other thing, Kevin, I've been having pizzazz issues. You ever have your pizzazz? You know the dial you turn when you put the pizza on it. You turn the dial,
Yeah.
and it starts ticking.
Yeah.
Has yours ever stopped ticking, but it still works?
I don't think mine ticks.
I'm saying, like, you know how and as it ticks, the dial moves until
Yeah.
it's done. So mine stopped just moving altogether. So it still works, but the pizza, if you don't keep an eye on it, it'll just keep
Oh,
cooking. It'll just keep cooking. So I got to figure that out. I just want to know if you had that issue. And
I have not. I'm sure that's either covered under the warranty or if you
well,
look
at this
into
point, it's like
pizzazz.
3 years old. I would just replace it, because it's literally, folks, it's the best. We need to get pizzazz to sponsor us. Kevin got me my pizzazz, and it is the best appliance that's in my kitchen.
It's a cult. Not a cult, but it is a it's one of those things, man, where if you don't
If you know, you know.
if you know, and then when you do, it's like
Pizzazz, dude. If you like pizza, you need a pizzazz.
Yeah.
Nothing warms up Lou Malnati's the next day, or any kind of Chicago stuffed pizza, better than a pizzazz.
Any pizza, it keeps it crispy. Like
Dude.
I forget what I just had on. I mean, I would just used it an hour ago.
Really? Okay.
But yeah, like it's made stuff where I'm like, yeah, it's still like.
But you can do I do waffles, toast,
Yep.
chicken. I reheat everything. I don't have a microwave or a toaster oven, so that's what I use for everything. Coffee.
That's awesome.
I just put coffee in like a saucepan, and I put it, instead of using my stove, I just put it under the pizzazz.
Get out of here. That's really
But
like that's
I
nuts.
tested it. Go on YouTube on our Death by Podcast channel and check out my pizzazz video. I like cooked so many things that day. It was awesome. I caught a little. We talked about this. We touched on this on the Patreon. I caught the shitty TV version of Ghostbusters before the podcast, where they like it was just so bogus the way they cut the commercials in. But I love I there's an underrated Winston Zedmore line. He first sees Stay Puff. He just looks at it, and like Ray's explaining like I'm sorry, like I was trying to think of the the
Can I guess the line? It's not the line you were talking about earlier, is it?
no, it's not. It's a different line. Go ahead and
Yeah.
guess.
Is it this job isn't worth 11.5 a year?
No, that's a great line, but I think
Wait,
that
then
comes. Is that during the end when he says
that's
that?
right after he tells him, "Let's cross the streams."
Oh yeah, okay.
And
No,
like he goes, "Yeah, this job's definitely not worth
11.5. 11.5. That's insane.
That's insane.
1984. What was 11.5? Like
You
maybe
could probably
30.
buy a house for that in 1984.
You think it was $30,000 today?
Probably, maybe. It was probably still low. Like it was probably. I mean, 30 grand a year isn't much to now. So yeah, it's probably equivalent to that.
I don't even make
I
that
like 11.5. You could, I mean,
I feel you, Winston. I feel you. No, the line is like when Ray's explaining, I was a campfire and I was trying to, and Winston sees Stay Puff. He just goes, "Oh shit!"
yeah. It's when they're all standing around. He goes, "Oh shit!"
It's his
Actually,
delivery
I watched
is
that
so
clip
great.
more because that's another thing my kid watches nonstop. Is
Yeah,
he loves Stay Puff
yeah,
and he loves Ghostbusters, but he just watches like the last, I don't know, 20 minutes of the movie.
really,
That and yeah, so like he loves Stay Puff, and but
yeah.
yeah, that's anytime like someone's over and they're watching that. I mean, the first thing they say, or not the first thing, but like right when Stay Puff shows up, yeah, Winston goes, "Ah, shit," and like
Yeah.
it's whatever, man.
Dude,
You know what?
next
He's gonna
time
hear
you
it
guys
eventually, you know.
next time you guys are watching that, and like he's sitting there and he's enthralled with the Stay Puff and it's going on, get some marshmallows, dude, and just start chucking them at his head, like from the other side of the room, just to like enhance the experience. I think it'll be
Yeah,
awesome. All right, dude, we got some movies to talk about. You want to do
yeah,
this?
for sure.
Was that it on the news? You good?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I mean, there's other little stuff, but like, yeah, but
Anything worth?
no, it's no, not
All
really.
right, all right. What do you want to start with? You want to start with Dick Tracy? Let's do Dick Tracy.
Yeah, because it's yeah, and then yeah, going to horror.
Okay, cool. When was the last time you saw this movie?
Besides this week,
Yeah.
I think I did a rewatch of it within the last 5 or 6 years, but before that, I don't know, when I was a kid, and like this was on pretty heavy rotation when I was a kid. I watched it all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, me too. But I haven't seen it since I was a kid, which is crazy because like I feel like every year I'm like, I'm gonna watch Dick Tracy again. Never did. It's crazy how and I
Well, it's
knew
just not on. It's not
yeah,
in the zeitgeist. You know what
it's
I
not,
mean? Like
not.
people don't think about it.
One of these days somebody will do another Dick Tracy movie. Are you kidding me? Like
Well, there's actually a funny story about that. Do
go
you know the
for it.
whole deal with that?
No.
Oh, this is wild.
Oh wait. Beatty owns it or something.
Yeah, Warren Beaty owns the right. So like they tried to do it for like 10 years
Yeah.
and like Scorsese was going to direct it. There were a lot of different things tied to it. And then Warren Beatty finally like really wanted to do it. And he was like, fuck, he bought the rights to it, said, I'm going to star in it. I'm going to direct it.
Yeah.
And did it. And now he like it's one of those things where if you don't use the rights, you lose them.
Right.
So in the last like 5 years, he makes these like he made this thing called like he's made two of them. The first one was Dick Tracy like gets interviewed by Leonard Maltin, and it's like a 15-minute video, and he just is in the video as Dick Tracy getting interviewed by Leonard Maltin.
Yeah.
And then he did another one like during COVID where he's on a Zoom call. Like he did it over Zoom, and it counts. It's like
With who? Who's he on the call with?
Leonard Maltin again.
Oh.
Except in that one, that one's even more bizarre because
Maltin.
it's Dick Tracy on a Zoom call with Leonard Maltin,
Yeah.
And then the other thing, these come out on Turner Classic Movies, so they're like actually
What?
released. Yeah, it's not like he's making a YouTube because he has to
Yeah.
release them on something. He probably owns a piece of Turner Classic Movies, if I had to
Yeah, that wouldn't
guess.
surprise me.
But like, so it airs once on Turner Classic Movies, and he gets to retain the rights.
That's
Um,
crazy.
but yeah, and the other, but the one it's him. You gotta watch it. It's wacky. It's him as Dick Tracy getting interviewed over Zoom by Leonard Maltin, and then on another Zoom like window, Warren Beatty shows up, and it's Warren Beaty talking to Warren Beaty as Dick Tracy and Leonard Maltin. It's so weird.
That's insane, dude. That doesn't surprise me, dude. I mean, we haven't seen Warren Beatty in years, or since then at least. I think he might be slipping. I don't know.
I wonder why he doesn't want to. Does he just not? I don't know.
He should
This,
produce another movie. I think he should do that. If he owns the rights still, do that.
yeah, I guess it's well. What Mr. Sunday had an interesting theory about why not do it, because if you know if somebody does one and then does it better than his,
Yeah, but we're talking 91, 93. Regardless, it's like
I think
30.
it's not. It's right after. It's. I mean, clearly it's right after Batman.
Yeah, it's close.
Like,
It's really close.
It's a pretty.
Yeah.
It's like they saw Batman. I mean, that is what basically happened. Is like Batman came out, and then it was like, okay, what? Like they started making all these pulpy,
Yeah.
like the Phantom,
Yeah.
and this and the
Shadow.
Shadow. Rocketeer was, even though Rocketeer
Sure.
wasn't actually like an old property, but
Right.
but yeah, like it's weird that's what I remember seeing those movies and being like, well, this is the closest we're going to get to a comic book movie, and just watching them because of that.
Yeah.
you know
But this movie, I mean, this movie holds up for what it is. I have
it's solid.
I have minor nitpicks that are more like things that I noticed, flaws that I noticed, mostly in the directing. I mean, Warren Beatty is a award-winning director. Like he's done a lot of stuff as far as directing goes. I mean, he mostly acting, but this movie still holds up. I mean, it's got Danny Elfman on the score. It's got Steven Sondheim wrote the music, the songs. It's got dude, the makeup in this movie is
it's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's is it Rick Baker?
No, I looked at I had who it was. I forget who it was, but it's just it's influenced by Burton's Batman definitely. But it's also got like a little bit of like, I mean, it's got the Dick Tracy like sort of serial radio show vibes to it big time. The cast is awesome. This is the kid from Hook.
Yeah.
I forget his name. He's got a weird name.
Then he's in Can't Hardly Wait, but I think he's a lawyer now.
Yeah, I think I read that too. I looked him up recently because I watched Hook, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's what he's doing. But I forgot he was in this. He's great in this.
He's really good in this. Yeah.
Beatty's good.
I think Beatty's great.
He is. He's a little like stiff or stale, maybe.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the character. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's things. Madonna's awesome. Madonna's
she's doing like Jessica Rabbit. Like that's the other thing is like, I mean, you could see the Batman like influence. Roger Rabbit's all over this thing too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like absolutely. But yeah, I feel like they were like, let's just make a human Jessica Rabbit.
The best part of this movie though, man, the sets of this movie are
I mean, it's all clearly on like a soundstage, but it's beautiful, man.
But it's
the
like
lighting and
how do they, when we watched The Gate like last season or whatever, and we were talking about the forced perspective they used or like the demon things and stuff, and like and Cat's Eye, when that's in the Guinness Book of World Records for building like the largest set movie set. When you look at this and they do those giant like where the camera comes back and you see the whole city, but you'll also see a car driving here, and then and then it goes up here from like the bottom right to the top left, and you're looking at either a miniature set or like matte paintings or drawings. It's like, how the fuck did they do that? It's still messes with my head, you know. But it's a
There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff on YouTube that you can watch that's really
really
cool on how they
okay.
did. There are a lot of like, how the fuck did they do that? That's clearly a matte painting,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, there's a
Like you
lot
know
of
the
really cool.
scene, you know the scene where he meets the kid and he beats the dad in the shack, and
Yeah,
the shack's tilting left to right.
yeah,
They pan out real far, real wide, and the shack's tilting. You even see like the two of them bust through the wall,
yeah.
but it's you see the whole
The whole like cityscape. Yeah,
city, and it's it's not a real city, but it's
yeah.
like you still see the shack. I don't know that when you think about Beatty directing, like that's genius stuff that nobody has done since. I don't think.
Yeah, there's some really badass stuff in there,
Yeah,
and that's probably the cinematographer. But I feel like he had to be like, all right, I don't know what they did, man. And the lighting is nuts in
the
all
lighting
these
is
shots.
amazing. Yeah,
It's it's a badass movie. What do you? I mean, what do you think of Al Pacino?
I mean the whole cast, dude, it's insane.
But I mean, Al Pacino's clearly like, go
Al Pacino's. I don't know what he like. I don't know. I would love to know his like motivation for the character, Big Top,
well, I
or
guess
big. Was it
Big
Big
Boy
Top?
Caprice.
Big boy, big boy.
But I guess like everybody else, they were like, a this like they designed everybody else as close to the comic as possible,
Sure,
you know, to the point where people are unrecognizable,
right.
except for him. He was like, I'll do it, but I want, he worked with his like he got a makeup guy. They had a makeup guy for him. I think that he didn't like that guy. He got another guy,
Yeah,
and that makeup guy, he kept to this day. Like
really.
is his makeup guy for every movie.
That's
Where
cool.
he was like, I want a big chin, and I want big hands, and I want this and this and this. Like he designed that character,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
awesome. The whole cast. There's people in this cast that you don't, even though they're late, like covered in makeup. You're like, I know that actor.
Paul Sorvino's like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
Paul
it took
Sorvino
a couple
lips.
minutes in the beginning. I'm like, well, he plays Lips Mansley,
Yeah,
where I'm like, oh, that's Paul Sorvino, you know.
Flat Top is what's
Flat
his
Top's,
name? It's
I forget his name. He's in a
it'll
ton of stuff.
Forsyth, William Forsyth.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
What do you know him from?
Forsyth. He's like
He-
he's just stuff.
he's
All
in
kinds of
stuff.
shit.
Yeah, he's like
The one that I couldn't place, which is crazy, is the piano player. I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
oh
It's
yeah,
fucking Mandy Patinkin.
yeah. It's well, Manny Patinkin is a chameleon, dude.
But he has no makeup on.
No, but I know. But every time
And I
he's
was
one of
like,
those actors
yeah,
that, like, before you knew Gary Oldman, and
yeah,
then you were like, "What? Gary
yeah,
Oldman did?" And then you see
yeah.
like, that's. I mean, Mandy Patinkin is. If you look at him in that, and then Princess Bride,
Mhm.
and then like Homeland, like those are three completely different people.
Or Chicago. Was it Chicago Hope?
I never watched Chicago Hope. Was he on that? Probably.
He was the lead of one of those hospital things.
But he, like, when you see him like now, he doesn't look anything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's wild.
It was just weird that I couldn't place the one character that like, or like one of the few characters that wasn't wearing makeup. I was like, who the fuck is that?
I think it's the accent, and I
Maybe.
think and how much weight he puts on. Like, I mean, look at him
Yeah.
in Princess Bride. He's got a haircut and a mustache
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
a weird accent. He's much
Sure.
thinner,
Sure.
but
He was great.
I mean,
I always forget her name, but his girlfriend, the redhead, she's
oh, she just died like 2 years
really,
ago, maybe.
man,
Yeah,
she's amazing. She's
yeah, she's really good.
she's done it. She was in something else that I really liked. Of course, I can't remember. Yeah, I think as far as nitpicks were just like, I don't know. There were some. I think now that I'm thinking about it, all the nitpicks that I had to do with with Warren Beatty's stunt double, and the scenes where Warren Beatty clearly wasn't doing the action. It was really poorly shot. Like there's a scene where he's climbing up on a wall and he ends up like outside and he jumps onto the lamp post
Hmm.
to slide down it.
That so
And
that's
it's
funny.
like
He
you can
bumps his
tell.
face off
Yeah,
of
he
it.
bumps his face. And it's like,
Um,
why wouldn't you reshoot that? Like stuff
well,
like that.
Warren Beatty's been asked about that, and he's like,
Really?
"That was me. I did that."
Really?
Yeah, that's what he
Regardless, like
says anyway.
reshoot it. Like it looks
Well,
like
especially if it's a stuntman See, I didn't notice it until like it got pointed out. But
That's I know I've noticed that since I was a kid, and I'm like, what? He just like destroyed his face. Like,
well, that's the thing. If you're, I mean, if it might have been that Warren Beatty was like, I just did that, and I'm
yeah,
not reshooting it. I
yeah,
fucking busted my face doing it.
like
Like,
Tom
I'm
Cruise
not gonna.
style. Yeah,
Well, but maybe it's yeah. Maybe yeah. He doesn't want. I mean, if you were gonna do that again, you'd be like, all right, have a stunt guy do it. I'm
yeah,
not busting my shit again.
yeah.
But or maybe it's one of those like the shot in Mad Max where it's like, no, use that shot. Although he's not supposed to bust his ass
Oh
on
yeah,
that.
there were a couple others that were exactly like that, where it was like where there was one in the when the place exploded and the kid unties him and blah blah blah, where he does like a roll and it's really
Yeah.
sloppy, and I'm like, why wouldn't you reshoot that? It was weird because the whole movie you're like, man, it's so well directed, and but there's these things in it that I'm like, why would you reshoot that? I don't know, it just doesn't jive. But other than that, I really the ending was a little lackluster. How Pacino just kind of tumbles off the thing and that's it. There's no real like showdown between the two of them.
Yeah. I mean, Tracy throws him off basically, like not on purpose,
But
but
it's a real weird. It's not like
it
a
is. It is real weird. How
yeah
about, I mean, when he blows away Flat Top with the machine gun?
yeah. That scene's great. It's like this
I mean,
crazy, like just he's just blowing people away for like 5 minutes.
well, yeah, with a Tommy gun. I mean,
Yeah
it's
yeah
it's cool. It's like when these kids movies were, yeah, I mean, yeah, they didn't spoon feed it,
yeah. It was
so
a ton of substance. Like I think the best parts of this movie are the montages where Dick
montages are
Tracy,
cool.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Dick Tracy sweeping up crime or whatever, and he's just like wailing on these guys.
Yeah.
And did you notice like he had a specific style of fighting with hand to hand where it was very very like
I think it was intended to look like
yeah, it was
the
something
comic
you would have
strip.
seen like where he'd just take these giant swings and just like bow 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 like battering these guys. That was
Yeah. I
awesome.
I think it was intended to like if you froze it, it would look like the comic strip.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Great movie, man. And I picked up on things that I didn't realize Sodenheim did
I didn't know that
wrote
either.
all the songs. That was amazing. Paired with Elfman's score, it's just like Jesus Christ. It's cool to see though, man. Batman '89, just another reason why, like, just the massive influence it was. But like, I think it might have been the same year that this came out. The Flash TV series with
Yeah.
John Wesley Shipp, which
Mhm.
also had it was like Elfman's score. They tried to do the flavor of Batman and all this stuff. So it was cool. It was cool. It's cool that 89 to 93 there was this weird like thing going on that was just like totally influenced by Batman '89.
Yeah. It's weird. I was just watching something on Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh yeah.
And it's wild that like just that the, the chances they took, like they let Paul Rubens like pick the director, and then him and Tim Burton cast the whole movie, and then they also like Tim Burton knew Danny Elfman from like he had worked with him, I think, on one of his short films, and Danny
Okay.
Elfman was nobody, and he was like he gave him a job, and then from that, I mean, 3 years later, he's doing Batman.
Well,
Y-
he
You
wasn't
know,
he wasn't nobody. He was Oingo Boingo's front man.
oh, you're right. There you go.
Oingo
Okay,
Boingo was huge.
I
But
guess I knew that, but I always
early
forget
in the
that.
early to mid '80s, and then he went to composing. But as far as composing goes, when you listen to Oingo Boingo's music, it's like, how did that like? Where's that?
Right, like
How did
where
that
did
happen?
you what
Yeah,
made you think? Well, actually, it makes sense for Pee Wee's Big Adventure,
totally.
like
Yeah,
but then to be like, hey, can you do that? Like like that's wild. Like Tim Burton tapped him for that, and then well, yeah, like they're both doing Batman
yeah,
a couple years later, and just
yeah.
like, hey, can you do something like, oh yeah, let me just come up with the most iconic score like of all time.
Right. That's insane. That's funny, man. I was working on a Pee Wee thing today, uh, a new toy that I'm making. But anyway, uh, you got anything else on Dick Tracy?
No, no, we
That
can
was a
move
good
on.
pick, man. I'm glad we watched that. That was good.
Yeah.
Is this streaming on anything? Even
No,
that's crazy. He's just like keeping it out of the heads of it. It's like, put it out there,
I
man.
feel like it was on Netflix pretty recently, but
Really,
yeah, I mean, it's not now.
it's weird.
Netflix has been killing it, by the way.
Really? Why? What do you
Yeah.
watch? What do you watch that you liked on there?
Well, they got Midnight Run, which is, you know,
Oh, De Niro.
yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite, and it's a movie I can put on, and like when it's on Netflix, it's like nice because you could just throw it on whenever, and it really is just a. I
Charles
always have it in
Charles
my
Grodin or
yeah
Scrotum. What's his name?
yeah Grodin
Grogan.
Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, man, it's I love it. I love it.
Man, if you love that movie so much, you need to watch Running
Running Scared
Scared. Yeah,
with Billy
Billy
Crystal.
Crystal and Gregory Hines, because
I
it's
watch
that
that.
same exact like flavor. So good. Yeah,
Yeah.
Netflix is solid, man. They get a bad rap because of their business
Well,
model, but whatever.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but sometimes they suck. Sometimes, like, man, nothing's on Netflix.
You got to dig. You definitely sometimes have to dig on Netflix. But all right, Handshake from Hell.
the
So
new the new the new the new horror movie. Talk to me. What did you think of this?
when did this come out in the theaters?
I mean, it's not currently in theaters, but I think it just left.
Okay,
I think it came out a month ago.
okay.
Um,
So this was put
and
in our brain by a fan of the show, Leo Mancini, who was on the show
a couple
what,
weeks ago,
a couple
yeah,
weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
it's been getting a lot of buzz.
Yeah,
A lot of people have been asking me about it, and
A24.
is it?
Yep.
I wonder. Wow, that's interesting.
Which to me
Are you
doesn't.
sure?
Yeah, yeah, it is. That doesn't mean anything to me though. Blumhouse doesn't mean anything to me anymore because like they both
Well,
those
they
guys.
also distribute. They don't just
Yeah,
like produce. Like they'll also like you
they,
know.
they do good stuff. They do bad stuff. It's like whatever. It's funny. I saw Leo yesterday in the shop, and he walked
Mhm.
in. He walked in. He was only there briefly, and he was like, I don't know why he asked because we had already talked about it, but he's like, did you watch Talk to Me? And I was like, yeah, I actually watched it last night, and Joe had just watched it too, and he was like, well, what'd you think? Because he really loves this movie. I didn't not like it. It was entertaining, but it's definitely not, to me, it wasn't like anything spectacular. I think that uh it had a lot of things that I was just like, move on, like let's keep going or whatever. And it also squandered, I thought, a lot of the idea of the hand as
Mhm.
this like thing, whatever it is. We don't know what it is. We don't know how it became or how they got it or anything about it really.
Yeah.
Um, it's a cool idea, that thing, that MacGuffin, whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
I wish that it had more lore or something attached to it, or at least like I don't know. The reason I say that most is just because by the end of it, somehow these Italian dudes get a hold of it and they're doing the same thing, and we see what happened to the girl, and it's like, all right, that's it. Like you're just gonna keep passing this thing on, like it. I don't know. I was just, I don't know.
See, I loved it, and like
Did you? Okay.
that part that in particular, I
Really?
really I
Why?
liked a lot.
Tell me why. Why?
It was cool that it. You know what? Like I watched the trailer for the new Pet Cemetery movie today, and
Which new one?
the one that's on Paramount Plus
It's like a
with
new
David
one.
Duchovny. Yeah,
Oh shit. Okay.
and I don't know if it's a movie or a TV show. I think it's a movie, but like it takes place in the 60s, and they show the Indians like at the Indian burial ground, and it's just like you don't need that. Like I don't need to know. Like just they say there was an Indian burial ground, and they all got slaughtered, and that's what that is now. And there's really no further explanation necessary. And that's like that's what bugs me about this. The new one actually, I don't want to say it doesn't look bad. I mean, but it didn't look terrible. But it was like, oh, the Indians are there. It's just like because the Indians are in the trailer,
Yeah.
and they have a bunch of like bear skulls and shit. But anyway, that didn't bother me at all. Like that, I like that. Like when you start diving in, I like that she was like, "Well, where did this come?" Like there was no like, "Where did this come from?" Or like the most they do is they try to go. They go to the guy that they got it from,
Right.
and even they can't even really do it because that guy's dead and they have to go to his brother, and that winds up, and that I kind of like that too, is they go to his brother, and at first it's like he tells him to fuck off,
Right.
and you think like, okay, well, it's gonna be all right, like every other movie where he tells him to fuck off, but then he comes and helps him, but he doesn't. He
Right.
just tells him to fuck off. Like
Yeah.
I really liked it. I really thought it really kept you guessing on what was going to happen, and then I really liked it. It really kept me engaged.
Yeah.
It really got me like not scared, but it got me like, oh Jesus Christ! Like like it takes a lot to get me. Not scared is the wrong word, but to be like, whoa, 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 like, and that happened a few times, man.
Really?
Like,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, spoilers for the movie. If you haven't
Yeah,
seen
whatever.
it, go in knowing nothing, because
Yeah, I guess it's a newer movie. We haven't really said anything about what it's about, but spoilers for Talk to the Hand. It's like these
really,
kids, these
if you haven't seen it and you want to see something, I thought it was pretty good and really interesting, and
well, just the premise. We don't have to go, whatever. The premise is just these kids, these party kids in Australia, I guess.
yeah,
Um, they have this hand. It's like a ceramic hand.
it's like a ceramic hand. They
It's
don't know
got a
where they
bunch of
got it.
like weird writing and shit on it. But if you hold it, it's like in a weird shape or position. If you just hold the hand, they have to tie you down so that you don't freak out. You
It's like
you
a
hold,
ritual. It's
yeah,
basically like a seance type ritual to
yeah,
like contact the dead, and these teenagers are like dicking around
right,
basically
right.
because they
Because
they
teenagers are
they're yeah
dickheads.
they're getting possessed for like 90 seconds, putting on TikTok, and it's like a
Yeah.
thing, and
Somebody holds
it's
on to it too long, and then shit happens.
yeah, and then
Um,
it man,
but
what a
it's
flick
but
though.
see, I don't know. Like, yeah, some fucked up shit happens, but when I think about Hereditary or Midsummer or whatever, it's like that's some fucked up shit that happens to some people. This was this was more like, to me, this was more like a mainstream version of that, more palatable version of those movies. It wasn't bad. It was just, man, if I've got a thing that's like this hand, this ceramic hand, that's basically a gateway or whatever, to, because
Sure.
we see what happens to that boy. Like he goes, where does he go? I don't know where he goes. He goes to
Yeah.
hell, something. I
Yeah.
don't know. If I've got this thing as the centerpiece of my movie, I'm gonna do more with it. And I know you and I a lot will differ on the origin thing. I love origins. You don't like you were saying about
Well, I just
Pet
don't. I don't
Cemetery.
need it, and
Sure,
it. Like it. I think it works. You know, I don't know. Yeah, when you don't.
it can be too much sometimes, and I don't need it. In this movie, I didn't need it either. I thought it was cool that, yeah, all right, just pick it up and go forward. But because they didn't, because the rest of the movie didn't utilize it, I felt the way that I would have done it, and you could have done more with it. That's where I was like, all right, well then I wish I had a little bit of origin or backstory on this thing, like whose hand is it or where did it come from or what the fuck. It wasn't a
Yeah,
bad movie. It's definitely worth a watch, but I don't think
I really really loved. I
groundbreaking.
mean, it was the best horror movie I've seen. I mean, probably since like Barbarian.
Really.
Yeah, and I put it on the same level, like
Okay.
honestly, like with that one, and I really love that one too.
I think if it had a
Um,
better ending, I would have been
oh,
more.
see, I loved the ending.
Really, that was so
I thought the
predictable to
ending
me.
was fucking fantastic.
Spoilers, like the main chick becomes
Well, it's
one of
it's it
the spirits that everyone else sees when they hold
the
hands. So
end. Well, the
we knew
end
that.
really,
I knew that
the
was coming.
last like 5 minutes really had me like, what is going to happen? Because it seems like, okay, she's getting tricked by all these like demons to like kill this kid,
Yeah.
and then like she goes and it looks like she's going to do it, and then like I'm watching, I'm like, okay, this movie has like not subverted but it's been surprising the whole time. Like it's been like it doesn't go where you think it's going to go. But then but it also like I was like, okay, they're leading into something. It's clearly, how's this going to work? Man, that ending, I really loved it. It just explained, it really did just explain more of like what is actually going on with the hand, like, oh, those are all people that fucked around with this hand, like
You
that
think?
they're
See, I didn't
that's
really.
what I
That's
took.
what you think?
Like,
Okay.
Yeah, like that they're all like lost souls, like they're like trapped in this like limbo.
But you're saying it's because of the hand. See, I didn't pick
Yeah,
up
I
on
th-
that. That didn't.
I figure all those people that like they see
Yeah.
are people that dicked around with the hand and they're in this like weird limbo. And that's like their existence now. And it's why some of them are evil, some of them are like
See, if
not,
that was just a
you know.
tiny bit more clear that that is exactly what's going on, then I would be more. That's cool. But to me, it was just dead people that were in limbo for
See,
some
but
reason.
to me it wasn't clear until the last shot of the movie. I'll bet if I saw this, I wish I could have seen this in theaters. Because I'll bet like that last shot of the movie where you see all the Italian guys,
Yeah.
I'll bet there's like an audible like
Really?
yeah.
I knew the second that this chick started losing her mind and going too far, I was like, she's gonna become one of these.
Oh,
She's
see,
gonna die,
I didn't,
and someone's
yeah,
gonna see her. To
I
me,
didn't
that
see
was
it
just
coming, man. I really loved it.
yeah.
I really wish I could have seen it in the theater. I mean, yeah, watch it, man.
It's definitely worth a watch, and it's like immediately, like right off the bat, I always get put off by movies that have dickhead teenagers being dickheads. I'm just like, I
That
don't
was
want
see, I thought the same thing. Like,
to.
okay, but I loved it because I thought they all acted like authentically. Like it reminded me of when I was 18, like, and I was a idiot, like
Losing your teeth.
I could totally buy. I thought everybody in the movie acted age appropriate.
Sure, I agree, but I think that's what puts me off is like because those are that's actually how kids are.
Yeah,
Like the opening was cool with the first or the
the first
previous
guy.
owners of the hand
Yeah,
and the stabbing and whatever. But then we introduced this new group, and again, it's like one of those things where I need a redeemable character that I can like connect with to go through the story. And I feel like actually now that I say that, Miranda Otto, I
yeah,
believe,
from Lord of the
Lord
Rings.
of the Rings, she was great.
She was
All the
excellent.
actors were great.
Everybody, I thought everybody was really really
But
good.
she's the character that I was like, oh, this is all going to default onto her, and she's going to have to save the day. When she's like,
Yeah.
when she's in the hospital, that didn't happen, but she was great. I loved the interaction she had when before all this happens, and they're like in the bedroom, and the two girls and the guy, the Christian kid, are on the bed, and they're just hanging out. And mom
Hmm.
comes in, and she's like talking about like, he has a dick. I know that the neighbors tell me everything. Like that was just a
Yeah.
really good mom scene.
It all the characters felt real and they felt like fleshed out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You felt
yeah,
like they had a life outside of this movie.
yeah.
Like, and there was, and like everybody was, you gave a shit about them too. Like it was, and they did a really good job. Like everybody in the movie has like past trauma, like, and it fleshed them out, and it made you kind of give a shit about them, and like, it didn't spell anything out. Like she's clearly like leaning on these people, like this other family, and the dad isn't around on that, and
That was
and it,
one. That was one thing though that Joe and I agreed that we didn't like was this whole thing. It seems to be a common trope lately of like, my parent died or my parents died, and now I'm fucked up. It's like, all right, yeah, that sucks, but I don't need to see that in so many movies. It's like,
sure.
and that led to the thing I hate the most in any movie is this really happening or is it not? And the
Yeah,
stuff with her,
I
the
usually agree with
psychological
you on
stuff,
that.
I don't like in movies at
See,
all.
and I usually I'm with you a little with
It
most of the
takes the
time on
stakes
that,
away, you know?
but I felt like they did a good enough job of being like, that the go like I felt like you knew a little bit more than the characters, and it was like I don't know. It was a like a better. What did we just watch? That was like it was like Videodrome. Like in that
Oh,
like, is this real? Is this not? But like in video, I felt like it was the same as Videodrome, where you're like, all right, well, clearly this isn't real because it's like, but that's you're just seeing it from her perspective. I don't know.
but you walk into a movie like Videodrome, it's Cronenberg, it's going to be fucked up and weird. There's going to be things that are like, psychologically weird and whatever. This was more like, we've got our kids, we've got the hand. The hand lets them see these demons or whatever they are. So why bother going into, is she really seeing them, or is she not? Because everyone saw them. We know that it's really happening. So why go in that direction? It doesn't do anything for me. It takes me out of it. But
Sure.
I'm not saying, like, yeah, I'm glad you really liked it because you rarely like new stuff.
Well,
So
it did, yeah. I feel like a lot of the time new stuff is great. I'm always weary of it because I feel like most new stuff is great on a curve.
yeah.
Like because most stuff sucks now. So like most new stuff sucks.
Yeah.
You know, so when something is kind of interesting, like it follows is always my big one where everybody's talking about how that one was like gene. I was like, this is a piece of shit. You know,
Really.
I
I
really
like It Follows. It's
I
disturbing,
hated it,
but
but
I don't think it's tremendous, but whatever. There's also something, what was it? There was another A24 movie.
by the way, I don't mean to like be a. I looked it up. This is not an A24 movie.
Is it not?
No, I thought the same thing though
I
when
thought
it
it said that
started.
right at the beginning. A24, no?
There's another company that begins with an A, and they like the A like comes in slowly,
Yeah.
and like it looks like it's gonna be A24, but it's not. It's some other
All right.
company.
Dang.
Anyway,
It's messed
I
up.
was,
You couldn't just
yeah,
let me have A24.
sorry.
Speaking of new stuff sucks or whatever, and I'm just gonna say this like real briefly, but Ahsoka is amazing.
I've heard. Yeah, I think you texted me that said, "Oh, you
Well,
made a big
the new
strong
episode was
comeback."
the newest episode was last night, and it's like,
I
dude,
saw Hayden Christensen was in it.
yeah, wait until it's done. It's only got two left, and then watch it. Please watch it because I want to talk about it.
Okay.
Talk to the faces of the hand, many faces of death. Why am I thinking about faces of death with this movie? Something about it reminds me of that. I don't know why.
I don't know.
You got anything else on this one? I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, it's not bad by any means. I don't think it's the greatest.
I'm gonna be recommending it to people for sure.
All right.
I really enjoyed it.
All right, do that. All right, dude. Witches of Eastwick. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, W.
It's crazy. Witches of Eastwick. Had you seen this before?
Not really. They used to play it constantly on Comedy Central.
Comedy
So
Cent. Oh yeah, okay.
I mean, this was like I don't know what the deal was, but they had the rights to it or something because they played it
Really,
all the time and they played commercials for it all the time.
really.
So I had seen parts many times and I had seen the same like 5 or 6 clips that they would play in the commercials.
Well, before you say, whatever, this movie's cast is insane. Jack Nicholson, Cher, Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer, Richard Jenkins. From what I remember, 1987. From what I remember, this was like a really big deal when it came out, and because of the cast and whatever, I don't know if it was nominated for any Oscars. I think it was, but I think it won like sound and music. You don't have to look it up; it's fine. But like, man, this is a pile of trash.
I was really interested in what you were
Did you like this?
thought.
Did you like it?
I found it enjoyable. I found it fine.
My
Like
God.
I didn't love or hate it. I mean, it was a solid like that's fine.
The only good thing about this movie is that it's the reason Jack Nicholson was the Joker, like blatantly.
You think like they saw this and
he's the Joker in this movie, basically, but also the Joker is in this movie, like literally. There's a Joker, like I think it's like a blow up, one of those punch things with the sand at the bottom. You punch it,
yeah,
for a kid or something. There's something. It's the Joker though, and it's behind Jack Nicholson in a scene where he's acting like the Joker. And I'm like, somebody saw this and was like, Jack Nicholson would be perfect for the Joker because it was like right there. There's a scene, and you'll see it if you watch it. But other than that, man, I just thought this was bananas, crazy, whack. And it's not that it was really like bad, more than it was like a 180 from what I thought it was going to be. And I just thought it was just like poorly executed. It was dumb and stupid. I don't know.
I didn't. I thought it was it was a little story. You know what? But the only thing that really bugged me, one, it didn't bug me, but like going in, I thought, I think this is because of Comedy Central, and they used to advertise it all the time. I was sure like that Jack Nicholson was the devil.
I
Like,
thought that at first, sure.
I mean, that was literally in the advertising, like crazy. Like
I
he
mean,
plays the devil.
couldn't he have been?
I mean, it
I
could have
mean,
been, but it wasn't
uh,
as blatantly the devil as, and I feel
yeah,
like it probably could have been. It made me want to read the book, to be honest. I feel
that's
like
right. Yeah.
it's a pretty famous book, and apparently there's a sequel.
Yeah. The
Um,
widows of Eastwick.
yeah, which is like, which is I think where the story would get interesting.
Well,
Like right when the movie ends is where it's like that. Now it's interesting. Like now he's got three kids that may be the Antichrist, and he's gonna try and like get to him. Like that's a cool movie. Like think about that. Like they're trying to keep that him away from the kids,
yeah.
and the kids get a little older, and you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
one of them might be one of them's got, I don't know, a soccer scholarship, and he disguises himself as the soccer coach or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he could do a bunch of like that's an interesting movie.
It's weird that they didn't, as popular as this was, at least from what I remember, that they didn't do that, especially because the book was there. So it's like you got your script.
Well, it was also that's the other thing is this cast was a couple of years after this would have been crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure Jack Nicholson was already expensive.
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon was blowing up. I think Thelma and Louise came out. Well, was it A7? So like
Some of these is like 88 or 89.
I think it's 92.
Is it in the 90s, really?
I don't know. That I am gonna look that one up. But I don't know. Is it? It might be 80s.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But and then Michelle Pfeiffer had like blown up by then with it was 91. And well, Cher was probably already,
Sure was huge already.
yeah, she had already gotten the Oscar, I think, for
What,
Moonstruck.
Moonstruck? Okay,
Yeah.
probably.
Um
But see, that's the thing that's confusing is that like all these, yeah, they were blowing up. Cher was just always massive since Sonny and Cher, but she'd probably, I don't know when,
well, I
like
think she had a resurgence in like the 80s because she
Moonstruck,
started doing
Mask.
movies and was really, I think this is the best I've ever seen her in a movie. Like
So I
I
think
don't
she
like
was.
Moonstruck.
Do you like Mask with Eric Stoltz and her?
Yeah, I do like Mask. I think she's good in that too.
Yeah. She
What's the
was the
other
best. She was the
I've never
best.
seen Mermaids.
Mermaids I've never seen. She was the most captivating, I think, of the bunch because I've never looked at Cher as attractive, mostly because we know her as this like Las Vegas
I
person
always think
now
of
or
her from
whatever.
the Beavis and Butthead music video.
Well, yeah, I guess, but
That's
she's in this. She's like she's stunning in this, and every
she
time
really is.
she's in a scene, she's captivating. They all are. I'm a big Susan Sarandon fan, but the first time we meet Jack Nicholson, it's with Cher. When she's like when we finally see him and they interact in that field, and he invites her back for lunch, and that's just where it starts getting fucking weird. Where it's like, at least not what I expected. Where like Jack Nicholson, like they're in his bedroom and he takes his shirt off and changes into that robe, lays down on the bed, and is just like he just blatantly flat out is like, I like to have some pussy after
Yeah.
lunch. Do you want to fuck? And it's like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, who let Jack Nicholson say that? Like, it's the last thing I thought he would say.
Well, that's what I really liked about his character, man, was he was like at first, yeah, you're like, Jesus, what a because I think she comes back with like, dude, you're gross.
Yeah.
Like you're a dumb. Like she comes
Her
back with this
reaction
thing.
is great. But
Yeah.
then she stays.
But then he like it totally, but to me it tracks like that. And then he like slowly like seduces her and like and then she's like,
all of them. I mean,
yeah, all three. And then the one thing that it didn't irk me because it makes sense for the movie and the time, but like they've got a good thing going. Like the three of them are basically not a throuple. I guess, what do you call it? Like the four of
it's
them
a
are.
harem, basically.
Is that what it's called?
Well, just
When
like he's like he's like this weird master of
Yeah,
the
he's
weird
like they're basically all in a relationship, and they're
yeah,
all just staying at this mansion. The whole thing is that there's this small town that they're all from, and he's the and there's this big mansion that's been unoccupied for a long time, and he buys it. And so he's already like everybody in town's like, who's this guy that bought the mansion? They all meet him independently and wind up sleeping with him, and then they're all living in his house, and the town starts to like talk about like, oh, there's these three women, like what is going on up there,
right.
and they stop doing it. And
Yeah.
it's like, and they're like, because they feel judged, and they're like, maybe. And that's the one thing that I was, and also the other thing that didn't irk me is the wrong word, but it was like, like at first, like after they're all like hanging out and partying up there, at one point they all start to like fly in the mansion,
Yeah.
and but nobody discusses it. Nobody's like, whoa,
Right.
that was crazy.
Yeah.
Like nobody says like, hey, were we just flying just now? Like it's just a thing that
But
they never discuss.
that is my biggest part. That ties to my biggest problem with this is that it's called the Witches of Eastwick. It's never said that no one ever says they're witches. It's never clear that they're witches or that they even have powers or anything. And even at the end, like you were talking about with kids and stuff, and he comes on the TV and they whatever. It's like it's never made clear that they're witches. And I was like, it's called the Witches of Eastwick.
Well, at the end,
Why aren't
they
we?
all
Why
do
don't we
like a
know that for
joint
sure?
spell.
Well, that's the other thing. There were three things. It was the fact that they're never clear about them being witches. I thought that they were supposed to be sisters. Were they not?
No,
They're
they
just
weren't
friends.
sisters. They're just
Okay.
friends.
Because that was weirding me out when they were all banging him, and I'm like, "You're sisters. What are you doing?" Okay, and then the other thing is, didn't they will him kind of into existence, or
Sort of.
with
I
their
mean,
at the beginning, and then also that's how they kind of get rid of him with the voodoo doll at the
yeah,
end. But right, so
yeah.
they allude to them having witch powers, but they never really solidify that.
They don't
So
spell
like
it out. Yeah,
the flying thing, they don't even come close to spelling it out. But like the flying thing, the voodoo thing, it's all just like, well, are they witches or are they not? I felt like they
yeah.
could.
I know what you mean. It like there was like, there's definitely stuff like going around like in that like at one point they're arguing and the ground shakes and breaks, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like I think they get by the end of the movie they get a sense that like there's a bigger thing to that.
And do they even know that they're witches?
I don't think so. I
Just
think
like,
they figure
whatever.
it out by the end. What bugged me was like at the end they decide, okay, we're gonna get rid of it. Like I think they figure out that he wants them to, because when they all get pregnant at once, and they
Right.
figure out like, oh, he wants us to like have these kids because they he's the devil.
Right.
But like it doesn't like I don't get why they don't want him around. He doesn't do anything in the movie that like besides being the devil
Yeah.
or like whatever he is.
I mean,
what's so bad about him? Like, like
I think
like he doesn't
Cher's
deserve any of this shit.
Cher's monologue at the beginning when they first meet is obviously spot on as far as her description of who he is and his personality and stuff. But yeah, you're right. I don't know. Like
He's got a good thing going with him. There's one woman in town. Well, that's the bad thing he does. That they're all like, oh
the
shit,
the barfing.
yeah.
Woman.
So there's this woman in town that kind of has.
That was insane.
At first, it's like, oh, she doesn't like that. They're all having orgies up there and all this stuff. But then she's also like, no, I don't. She knows she's got this like weird like telepathic link, and she doesn't like him. And he winds up like, yeah, like I don't know if it's a spell or what it is, but they do the thing with the cherries, and she keeps throwing up, and
that was
and
bananas. That I mean, it was cherries, but that was insane.
That's kind of why. That's kind of why I want to read the book, because then her husband winds up killing her.
Yeah,
and that's like it's totally out of character, and I want to be like, was he influenced? Like, I feel like the book must explain this more.
This is so. This is we didn't say this is directed by George Miller, and like, there's a lot of this movie. The parts George Miller is awesome when he does Mad Max.
I tell you what,
Babe isn't bad, but he's done
Babe
some
one.
movies.
I mean, that's the thing. Like Babe one, for what it is, it's effective at being what it is. It's a solid movie about a talking pig. Like it's better than it should be.
It's not a bad movie. It won Best Picture. It's for a reason, but like
It didn't win Best Picture, did
Yeah,
it?
I think
I
it
don't
did.
think it did.
Well, whatever. You can look it up
Anyway,
later.
yeah.
But like,
um,
but it's George Miller has these things that are specific to him, and it's this weird like frenetic, crazy thing that leaves at least me with a feeling of on something unexplained and that should have been. It's like a mess. He's got a messy style of directing, I guess. So like the thing with Richard Jenkins and like what was going on with his wife and like
yeah.
the lack of the clarity on are they witches and what are their powers and what world is this that we're living in? You know, like what's the universe that we're in?
Well, you can kind of say that about Mad
It was all
Max.
missing.
Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a lot there, especially with like the first Mad Max
Yeah.
and the last one, where it's just like if you need backstory, those aren't the movies for you. It's just like, hey, the Earth is like this now,
Sure.
and
I get that.
like
It's not
it's.
so much backstory as it is like what is happening right now? You know?
I know what you mean. It'd be one thing if I don't know what Nicholas Holt's character all of a sudden can do magic in the middle of the movie. It would have been like, wait, what? Why can he do that?
Yeah. That
Like
wouldn't surprise me coming from George Miller. I don't know.
it would be jarring and
Yeah.
wouldn't fit. But I don't know. It just kind of when you're in this movie, like when you're watching it, it doesn't like I didn't think about it until later that we're not going to talk about it. They were flying around, like
Yeah.
they're not going to discuss it, like or I'm sure they did and just didn't.
I got the sense that they were flying. He was making them fly. That was his power.
Yeah, but then
Making
later
them
in the
fly.
movie, it's like that's how they get out of.
Oh yeah. And then like, yeah, so he's after them at the end of the movie. Susan Sarandon falls off the balcony and they're like,
Mhm.
just start laughing, you'll fly. Okay,
Yeah.
when did we establish that?
I
It's
think
like,
that was the thing. Like when they were all laughing when that's the thing. Like, yeah, they don't spell it out is the wrong word, but like, I don't know. I
it's
thought
just
it was
establish any movie,
fine.
you got to establish the rules for the world that we live in, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, and I think that all these things that like they don't really break down are what key because it's got everything there. Everybody in the movie's charismatic. It's got a compelling story. I think
Sure.
all that stuff is what keeps it from being like an American classic, where it's like, like a Rain Man or like a go-to movie. You know what I mean? Like a Forrest Gump or whatever. Like there is like a piece
Lost
missing.
Boys.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But
Children shouldn't play
yeah.
with dead things.
Yeah, right. There is a piece missing there, narratively, and it's I guess
Yeah.
and it's not crazy. Like where you're at is not crazy. Like it is. I could see it being frustrating.
Narratively,
And
that's the perfect way to put it.
if you can get through, like if it doesn't bother you, I could see getting through. Like I feel like this movie makes it on on its characters and like Jack Nicholson's like charisma. Like it just
That's definitely the best part of it, sure. And then, but then also to add to insult to injury, it takes this left turn of insanity at the end when Jack Nicholson turns into a giant 19 like bad late 80s CGI
like a Jabberwocky type dragon. Yeah.
what the demon giant thing, what the fuck was that? That was the last thing that I would have thought would be in this movie. It was the last thing I was expecting. Audience rave about Witches of Eastwick. I never would have guessed that this was in there. And it's like he's like destroying shit. It was so weird.
And yeah, you know what you mean. But like that's the other thing is like because they're not clear, like, is he a devil? Is he the devil? Is he like
Yeah.
they're not super clear on it. So therefore they don't need to. It's almost not a plot hole because they don't bother to explain it. You know what I mean? Like if he's the devil, then you could be like, well, why can't he just snap his fingers and they're good? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, why is he even having a hard time with this?
Right.
But you know what I mean? Because they don't bother to explain any of that, you're good. Like that kind of works.
I guess. I think this would have been a much better movie if they had just established that he is the devil, established that they are witches with powers,
Mm-hmm.
and all that takes is like a sentence of each.
Well, it would take a little more, like to be like, well, did they get powers from him? Like that would take a lot of explain, which isn't a bad thing. This isn't a long movie.
Right.
It probably would benefit from a scene where they go, okay, what can we do? Can we I mean, that's the thing. But you also need that suspense at the end where they make the whatever it is,
Voodoo doll.
the voodoo doll and the all that shit. That is it going to work? Like,
But
they don't know if it works until he comes back.
Imagine this is. I think the better. I think it's awesome if they had gone like, if it had been a story of like the devil's coming to town, so you establish that he's the devil, like his license plate says DVL or whatever it is.
Sure.
That's all you need. And then with the witches, right when they have that night, that Thursday night get together that they always do. Instead of sitting around eating and having popcorn or whatever, that should have been their night to do witchcraft, And so we see them do witchcraft that night. So then that they're witches and they might be able, you don't need to explain it any further, but they might be able to oppose the devil. That's all you need in your head. So that now the story unravels and they do, stand against the devil, but they're also seduced by him. So I don't know. And I think that's a George Miller thing, but also who knows? Maybe the book does explain that better, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
And I'd be curious. Like I said, I mean, I don't know if this made any money. I'm sure it didn't cost a ton to make. I mean,
for that sweet CGI at the end.
I mean, at the time,
baby,
man,
when he turns into a baby.
It's 1986, man. Like it's or is it 87?
87. Yeah. You got RoboCop happening at the same time. Come on.
Yeah, but oh man, that's the other thing though. RoboCop, I didn't realize there's a lot of those special effects are that movie. I'm watching the RoboCop documentary on Shutterbox. That's 4 parts.
Yeah.
Man, we're gonna talk about more next week, but it's awesome. And they really there's more practical effects in that movie than you even know. It's wild. This is like Lord of the Rings type coverage, man. Yeah. It's an awesome documentary.
I'm excited to watch it. For a movie that got so much talk and praise and the cast that it has, I was just like, really? This is what it is?
Well, I don't know that it even got a lot of praise. I think it was just on Comedy Central a lot, and that's how it's in our zeitgeist. And like Clue was on Comedy Central a lot, and that's how I knew that. But Clue bombed.
But I didn't have Comedy Central. I remember when this came out and it being like,
really, it was a big deal.
Witches of Eastwick. It was like a big time, and it was the cast. It was the cast that got its notoriety. Absolutely.
Interesting.
But
I wonder. I don't. Yeah. I'd
weird.
Be interested, man. If I read these books, I'm really considering reading the books.
Read the book. Read the first.
It depends
book
on how long. I'm going to look at how. It depends on how long they are.
All right.
Like I'm not going to read.
If you read it and you say it's like good, then that means it's a George Miller problem. If you say it's the same thing, then it's like the writer, whoever. I
think it's John Updike.
John Updike. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm not surprised you didn't like it. When I was watching it though, I was very curious. I'm like, I wonder what I have attempted to, pull an odd, be like, pull the plug because I watched it early and I was like, I'm gonna offer to do something else because I don't know if I love it, but
we don't pull plugs. It's funny because my brother Joe's been doing like a Jack Nicholson watch, and yesterday when we were hanging out, I was like, we watched Witches of Eastwick this week. Have you seen that? He's like, no. I was like, don't. But then his wife, he just dropped off my phone, and his wife, he said he got home yesterday and his wife was watching Witches of Eastwick.
No shit.
I was like, he didn't watch much of it, but
I'll bet she likes it. That's another thing. It's kind of a wife movie. That's the other thing. It's a girl movie.
So, yeah. I don't know, I guess. But it's Jack Nicholson. Like, I love Jack Nicholson, and I would love to watch.
He's excellent in it. Like it's almost worth watching for his performance. Like he's very good at it.
I guess it's just such a weird thing. We didn't mention Carl Struyachin. I think I don't know how you say Struyachin. He's the butler guy.
Oh yeah,
he's from Twin Peaks. And
he's also from Star Trek.
Oh, of course he is.
He plays Lagzana Troy's like manservant.
Why is he always a servant? I bet he doesn't speak much English.
No, I think he does. He speaks English in this.
No, he doesn't speak at all in this.
He doesn't?
No, not one lick of dialogue.
I don't think he speaks in
And
He's
he
in a
does.
few.
I don't
He's
think
in
he
a few
speaks
episodes
in,
of Star Trek. Because
Twin Peaks.
he's Deanna's mom's.
She's hot.
No, her mom isn't. Her mom is played by.
And
Oh my God, how am I drawing a blank on her name?
I
Oh
think
my God.
I think I've seen her face. It doesn't matter. It's Star Trek.
Majel Majel Barrett. Yeah, that's what it is. She was married to Roddenberry.
Who? Oh, Roddenberry. Okay,
Yeah, and she's the voice of the ship too.
oh, that's bananas.
Yeah, but she also plays Troy's mom, and people hate her episodes, but I like them. She's this she's this loud, obnoxious old lady, and she's just always trying to get laid. And
I've seen it.
awesome.
I've seen. I know exactly who you're talking about. I've seen an episode with her in it. I know
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what you're talking about. Unfortunately, what else? That's it. That's all I got. What do you got?
Nothing, man. No, that's it. You got X though.
I got X though, man. All right. So for next week, all right. So Witches of Eastwick. Don't watch it if you haven't seen it. Go watch it if you have.
It's
If
not
you,
bad.
if you haven't seen it, give it a watch. If you like cheeseburgers. Next week, I have the letter X. Letter X, for some weird reason, is insanely hard as well. Right?
Well, it's not a weird. It's not a lot of words start with X.
So I was going to ask you if we could do like movies that start with E, so like EX, so like Exorcist, like that kind of thing, but it sounds like it's an X.
Sure. I mean,
Maybe,
yeah.
well, I don't have any. Next season, maybe we'll do that. But there's two movies. One I think I probably pitched last season. It's just called X-Ray from 1981.
Yeah, I think I looked at that one last year too.
And it's
got a cool poster.
Yeah, it does. So there's that. There's also Extro 2, or 3, which we did Extro either
We
last
did
season or season before.
season 1, I think.
And it's bananas. It's a crazy cult classic. So there's those two, unless you had something else that you found. Did you find anything else?
I didn't find anything else.
All right.
I would vote for X-Ray.
I was gonna also suggest, since we've been doing these double features, whatever one of those two that we pick, to also watch the movie called X that came out last year or something.
Yeah, that was a suggestion. Actually, last year I was like, well, let's just
Did you watch it?
No, we were gonna do it, and then I didn't.
I've never seen it either.
I've heard it's really good.
I've heard mixed, but it's part. There's two movies.
Yeah,
it's either the sequel or the prequel. I don't know.
I think it's a prequel, but
Okay.
it came out pretty soon after the first one.
So you want to do X-Ray and X?
Sure.
I mean, for next week.
Yeah. Can we put a pin in X-Ray in case we find something else? But I mean,
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, if we don't find anything else, well, there isn't it. I really dug on X.
Yeah.
I could not find anything. The question is, can we find X-Ray? I think.
Yeah, if we can, yeah, we'll get back to you there.
But if we can't find X-Ray, I want to do Extro 2.
Okay. It'd be interesting because I don't even remember much from Extra 1.
Really, like the dad sucking on the sons.
Oh
my god!
Right.
And like the clown midget and like all this weird stuff was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the movie, but I figured we did the first one. Why not do the second? But let's plan on X-Ray for next week and the movie X as a What'd You Watch. Does that work?
Okay. Yeah.
And then we'll probably also talk about that RoboCop documentary. So that'll be another full show. What else? You got anything else?
Nope.
Good stuff. A lot of weird stuff. Man, Witches of Eastwick, I wish I liked it more, man. I've been waiting to watch that one for a long time, but yeah, very strange.
I was really interested in what you thought about that one.
Yeah. Folks, if you want to find us on social media, at Death by Podcast, pretty much everywhere. You can find us on X, Death by Podcast, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Do people actually call it X?
I mean, I've never heard anybody just call it X. Most of the time people say Twitter and they're like, I mean X. Oh, that's stupid. Like that's every single,
Yeah. Instagram is our hub. If you want to support the show and you like the show, tell people about it. But also check out the Patreon, patreon.com/deathbypodcast, where you find our second bonus mini podcast, BoobTube TV, where we talk about horror related TV shows. Outside of that, What else? Is that it?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Toxic Avenger tomorrow. No, I don't know what it is.
I mean, who knows? If Toxic Avenger comes out tomorrow, we'll be
talking
about it
about
next
that.
week. Yeah.
Folks, thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Adam. That's your other host.
Kevin.
You look so lost just then. I don't know what was happening. It's Miller time. Kevin, who you got?
Shut the fuck up.
I can't like hear that anymore without seeing like a videotape going into his stomach or something. It's just like, what the fuck? All right, see you guys later. What are you doing?
I just spilled my Arizona iced tea.
Oh,
So I'm gonna clean it up.
I didn't know what was happening to you. You're like,
Well, I
having
reached
a
for my
stroke
speaker
or
and
something.
knocked- No, it just happened.